It was a quiet afternoon in the small village of Ashwick, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests. The village was known for its peaceful life and the prestigious Ashwick Academy, a school for the brightest minds in the region. But beneath the calm surface, a mystery was about to unfold, one that would challenge the sharpest minds in the village. Detective Eleanor Hart, a retired professor turned amateur sleuth, was sitting in her cozy study, surrounded by books and papers. She was known for her keen intellect and her ability to solve puzzles that baffled others. Her quiet afternoon was interrupted by a frantic knock on the door. Opening the door, she found a young man, barely out of his teens, looking pale and out of breath. "Miss Hart," he gasped, "you have to help us. Professor Langston is dead, and we think it might be murder." Eleanor's eyes widened. Professor Langston was one of the most respected scholars at Ashwick Academy, a man known for his groundbreaking research in ancient history. "Come in," she said, ushering the young man inside. "Tell me everything." The young man, whose name was Thomas, explained that Professor Langston had been working on a secret project, a discovery that could change the understanding of ancient civilizations. He had been close to finishing his research when he was found dead in his study that morning. The door was locked from the inside, and there were no signs of forced entry. The only clue was a strange symbol drawn on a piece of paper on his desk. Eleanor's curiosity was piqued. She grabbed her coat and followed Thomas to the academy. The campus was abuzz with whispers and speculation. Students and faculty alike were in shock over the professor's sudden death. When Eleanor arrived at Professor Langston's study, she found the room exactly as Thomas had described. The professor's body lay slumped over his desk, his face frozen in an expression of surprise. The room was tidy, with no signs of a struggle. On the desk, next to his lifeless hand, was a piece of paper with a peculiar symbol, a circle with intersecting lines, like a star. Eleanor examined the symbol closely. It didn't match anything she had seen before. She turned to Thomas. "Did the professor mention anything about this symbol, or about anyone who might have been interested in his work?" Thomas hesitated. "Well, there was one person, Dr. Blackwood, another professor at the academy. He and Professor Langston had a bit of a rivalry. They were both competing for a grant to fund their research. But I can't imagine Dr. Blackwood would." "You know," Eleanor nodded, "it's always good to consider all possibilities. Let's pay Dr. Blackwood a visit." Dr. Blackwood's office was on the other side of the campus. When they arrived, they found him seated at his desk, surrounded by books and papers. He looked up as they entered, his expression guarded. "Ah, Miss Hart," he said, his voice calm but with a hint of tension. "I assume you're here about Professor Langston's unfortunate demise." Eleanor studied him carefully. "Yes, I understand you and Professor Langston were rivals. Can you tell me where you were last night?" Dr. Blackwood leaned back in his chair. "I was here, working late. Several students can vouch for me, but I assure you I had nothing to do with his death. Despite our differences, I respected Professor Langston's work." Eleanor wasn't entirely convinced, but she decided to dig deeper. She returned to Professor Langston's study and began searching through his notes. Among the piles of papers, she found a journal. The last entry was dated the night before his death. It read, "I've finally deciphered the code. The truth is more astonishing than I imagined. But I fear someone is watching me. I must be careful." The mention of a code caught Eleanor's attention. She remembered the strange symbol on the desk. Could it be part of the code? She spent hours poring over the professor's notes, trying to make sense of the symbol and its connection to his research. Finally, she had a breakthrough. The symbol was a key to an ancient cipher, one that Professor Langston had been trying to crack for years. Using the cipher, she decoded a series of numbers that led her to a hidden compartment in the professor's desk. Inside, she found a small ancient artifact, a golden amulet with the same symbol engraved on it. As she held the amulet, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The artifact was the key to a long-lost treasure, one that Professor Langston had discovered through his research, but someone else had learned of his discovery and wanted it for themselves. Eleanor confronted Dr. Blackwood with her findings. At first, he denied any involvement, but when she presented the amulet and explained its significance, he broke down. "I didn't mean for him to die," he confessed. "I just wanted the artifact. It was supposed to be mine." In the end, Dr. Blackwood was arrested, and the mystery of Professor Langston's death was solved. The scholar's secret had been uncovered, but at a great cost. Eleanor returned to her study, the amulet safely locked away, and reflected on the dangers of greed and the lengths people would go to for knowledge and power. And so, the quiet village of Ashwick returned to its peaceful ways, but the legend of the scholar's secret would be told for generations to come.